Happy Thursday, everybody. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of Drank and Champagne. I am joined, as always, by Mr. Andrew Champagne. Andrew, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing really well. Riding pretty high. Last week's show was a very good one for us. If you watched last week and you played my $12 late pick four, you cashed for a little over $200 after a bit of a cardiac event in the stretch of the finale. Thank you. It was definitely a where's the wire, where's the wire, where's the wire moment. And the fact that at Oaklawn, the camera isn't quite on the wire makes for a very trippy experience. But we wound up hitting there. And Josh, the thing that I'm most proud of, if anybody out there played our cold consensus pick three ticket for $1, they got $20 back because we hit it. So yeah,
what was the return on that? Like 5-1 or something?
Something like that. Yeah. So we wound up doing okay at Oaklawn last week. And in large part because of that, we're going back to Oaklawn this week for the late pick four, which starts in race number 9. We will get to that. If you didn't see the live stream that we did here of On the Wrong Lead, talking about the late pick 5 on Pegasus Day at Gulfstream Park, that's up on all of our channels. You can take a look and listen to that. I got to tell you, very happy that you guys wound up handling that on the live stream, because after everything that happened last week and everything we talked about that I'm not going to get into again here because we really don't need that negativity in the world. It would make me feel a little bit icky doing stuff for free for them. So I appreciate you getting me off the hook there, Josh.
Yeah, it's been an interesting week. Offline, not in content creation land, not in the On the Wrong Lead guys, but in my broader group of friends, I know it's definitely been it's been a negative week. It's really funny because we talked about this, I think, a little bit during our award stream. You and I talked about this, I think, last week on Drank and Champagne. But I just, it's just, we need we honestly, I think we need a good derby trail to lead into a good summer this year to really kind of get the juices flowing again, get the goodwill going, get people interested in, because honestly, like I said, it's been kind of a negative vibe the last couple of weeks. And even when it's not the computers beating up on us, even if it's not the tracks doing something absolutely insane that screws the better, it's bad weather and tracks canceling, and it's tough. Or heck, fairgrounds going off the turf, like during one of their bigger days. Like, it's unfortunate. Yeah, and I know you can't dodge that, right? We've talked about, well, you can also not Andy Serling it and wish ill upon all the people who call down the rain gods, like that one weekend when we were up at Saratoga, Andrew. But there's some stuff that's unavoidable. But yeah, we did cover Pegasus. I thought it was a pretty straightforward and kind of chalky sequence, but I'll be honest, my two compatriots, Caleb and Mark, did not. So make sure you check that out. That replay's up there. I'll have some time tomorrow on Thursday, or when you're listening to this, hopefully I'll have timestamps up. So if there's only a race or two you guys are interested in, you could jump straight to that. But Oaklawn Park last week was a nice little change of pace to handicap that. And honestly, probably of the tracks I have not been to yet, Oaklawn Park, I'll probably say it's number 2 on my list of places to go. Santa Anita's probably number 1. I don't know if and when I'll get out to Santa Anita. Maybe the next Breeders' Cup they host out there. But just California is not a place I get to. I mean, obviously, like I said, Del Mar, this is the first time I went ever to California this last year. But I just hear such nice things about Oaklawn Park, about the Hot Springs area. It's definitely a place I want to go to. Andrew, I know you haven't been to Oaklawn Park yet, right?
I have not. I know a couple of people that have, and they swear by it. They say it's absolutely wonderful. There are things that they do to make the on track experience fantastic. And of course, Matt Dinnerman is a friend of mine. I am thrilled at the circuit that he gets to call. He winds up calling Oaklawn in the winter and spring months, and he winds up calling Monmouth in the summer and fall. That's a really good swing for him. And given the way Golden Gate Fields ended, he could not have bounced out of that in better fashion. Pumped for him. Matt's one of those guys where if you've got a problem with him, I've probably got a problem with you. That's how good a guy he is. And I'm thrilled that he's the voice of Oaklawn, a community that definitely supports its racing.
So it wasn't Jenny was a friend of yours. It was Matt is a friend of yours.
Hmm?
Isn't that like a Killer song or something?
I don't
Jenny
know.
was a friend of mine. No.
I know
Um,
Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of
um,
mine. That one I know.
oh yeah, man. There's that one.
Yeah, Joe Morrow.
Um, I gotta ask you a question, Andrew, just because I do know before we get into this pick four, and I know your day job involves a lot of sports gambling, sports wagering, that kind of stuff, and mostly news around it. But I know you do some picks and tout stuff and things like that. But do you think the NFL has an officiating problem?
The NFL has an officiating optics problem. I'm not saying games are rigged. I'm not going to be that person screaming into the void and it turning into an old man yells at cloud thing. But when even announcers are saying, "Oh, this looks bad," it's pretty bad.
I guess like my curiosity stems from the fact that right Twitter, Blue Sky, any social media, Reddit, right? We tend to get sensationalist on there, right? Um, and you usually like it's just human nature, right? The hot takes are what get the eyes, right? And so you see all this stuff, but I guess like from a more like business side, right? Like do you think like the books care? Do you think that that's baked in at this point? Like do you think that they're baking in the Mahomes calls into the prices? Like is that something people talk about? Like do you think that there's anything going on with that or do you think this is just like just us being meatball fans being like, "Oh, Mahomes gets all the calls." Like
Fans have been complaining about referees since there were referees. I don't think books care one way or the other. The
mm,
primary motivation of a sports book is to get equal money wagered on both sides of a number. That way, they wind up ensuring a profit regardless of what happens, making it a very stable investment. If 50% of the public goes one way and 50% of the public goes the other, sports books are bound to make a profit, and that's all that matters.
hmm,
Which I understand is not the answer some conspiracy minded people out there want me to say, but that's the way the business works.
yeah. Yeah, and apparently, now like I think the NFL similar. I mean, if you complain, you get fined. So interesting to see what's going to come out of that. I actually I didn't watch much football this week. This was actually a real quiet week for me. I've been pretty regularly betting football, watching football. Um, the only thing I really watched was the um, national championship game,
See,
and
I couldn't watch any of that. I'm a Michigan fan, and it was Ohio State against Notre Dame. The
mm,
only way I could have enjoyed myself watching that game would be if the NCAA came down and issued the death penalty to both teams before
mm.
kickoff.
Well, I wish they would have done that because it would have saved me my money. I'm betting Notre Dame money line, but
They at least gave backers a thrill late. It looked like that game was all over, but the shouting coming out of halftime. So, yeah, it was good on Ohio State for responding to the wake up call that my Wolverines wound up giving them. I believe it's 1,881 days since Ohio State has beaten Michigan in football. Not like I'm counting or anything,
mhm,
but yeah,
not like anyone's counting,
1,881
right?
days. So someone is counting for me. That's the thing. But regardless of that, we're going to dive into the late pick four now at Oaklawn Park. It starts in race number 9, includes races 9, 10, 11, and 12. And before we dive into this, Josh, I tweeted something about this. I think Oaklawn missed an opportunity here. I think that one of the most player friendly circuits around should have had an all stakes pick four ending in the Kentucky Derby prep race, the Southwest, encompassing 4 stakes races. You get an Oaks prep as leg 3, you get a Derby prep as leg 4. Here, what we have is an Oaks prep, a Derby prep, and 2 maiden races that are pretty darn confusing. So it
Mhm.
might well actually be better for the payoff, but I don't know anybody out there that's overly excited about handicapping an Archie bred race.
Yeah, well, I mean, they did do an all stakes pick 5 at least, starting
It's
in race
something.
6. Yeah. I think I think that you and I are like one of the last proponents of the pick 4. I I unfortunately often use the pick 4 as the run back from the pick 5, but I will say there's a couple of tracks, right? Assiniboia Downs, um, Turfway Park, and I think Canterbury also, where they have sub 15% pick 4s. So there's still value out there in some tracks in the pick 4. Sam Houston was a great RIP Sam Houston for the pick 4, but
That still makes me really upset what they did to Texas horse racing. I mean, there is no excuse for what Amy Cook and the TRC are doing to Sam Houston, to Lone Star. That's a different podcast, though. I'm stopping myself, Josh.
yeah, I know. That's why I tried to pivot to sports to talk about something kind of positive, and then I just complained about the refs. So I don't know if that helped. But yeah, let's go. Let's race 9 here. Martha Washington, mile and 16th here on the dirt for 3-year-olds. And I think if you kind of look at this, you got a morning line favorite 8-5 and the 1 quiet side, 2-1 on the 4 her laugh, 3-1 on take charge of Milady. It's a 6-horse race, and Andrew, we immediately go different directions in this race, and you went with the 8-5 favorite here, quiet side, as kind of your single. So talk to me a little bit.
Quiet Side isn't just kind of my single. To me, she's the most likely winner of this entire sequence. I liked Quiet Side the day that she broke her maiden when she won by 6 1/4. She came back and she ran in the spin away. I was there that day running up and down the track apron with my 2 beautiful nieces. They stood still long enough to be able to watch this race in the pouring rain that day. Quiet Side ran well and was second best behind Immersive. After that, she ran twice going 2 turns and she got caught wide on both of those occasions. I don't think there's anything wrong with running third behind Immersive or running second behind another very nice horse in Good Cheer, especially when last time out she beat the third place finisher by 6 lengths. I think this is a considerable class drop from what she has been facing. This field, I don't think is any great shakes. This is as much a play against some of the other horses that will take money as it is a play on quiet side. Josh, if you're out there on YouTube, people will see that you have Her Laugh as an A. I'm going to channel our buddy Caleb on this. Her Laugh didn't just have a candy ass trip last time out. She had a Rudy Poo candy ass trip. Copyright Dwayne The Rock Johnson, all rights reserved. You see on the Untappable, she was never challenged up front. 49 to the half, 113 and 4 for 6 furlongs. She's going to have to go a lot faster. Same with Take Charge Milady, who had a very similar trip in the mud last time out. There's a fair amount of speed in here, actually, too. I can't see Legal Empress taking back. So I do think they're going to go pretty fast early on. And those 2 horses, who I think need to improve anyway off of perfect trips, are going to be in deep water. If I was going to recommend any other horse here, it would actually be the other Kenny McPeak trainee. That's the 5 Gowls Delight, who I thought was pretty impressive in her debut, sitting off the pace a bit, pouncing, turning for home, and pulling away to win by 5.5 lengths in a nice time with a nice figure. I think that one's got every right to improve, but Quiet Side is absolutely the horse to beat in here, at least in my eyes. And if we get the 8-5 morning line, I think that's an overlay because I am just not impressed at all whatsoever with the rest of this field, save for maybe Gowell's Delight as a value proposition.
Yeah, the quiet side is a type of horse I like to bet against. um, Maiden Breaker immediately jumps into graded stakes company and runs fine, but just has a hard time kind of getting on the right side of a couple of horses. Now, obviously, the figures look fine, right? The run lines look fine. You got a second, a third, and a second, and a grade 1, a grade 1, and a grade 2, right? I mean, this horse has already made $250,000. I think anybody would be thrilled to absolutely own this horse. Um, but I look a little bit at the breeding, and maybe I'm thinking that maybe this horse is just caught a little short. Maybe the change of 2 turns, um, maybe might be a little too much for this horse. Um, and yeah, I mean, I see 8 to 5. I agree with you. I think this is the horse that's going to take money. I definitely, I think this is probably going to be 6 to 5, 7 to 5, even money. I think I see this horse taking a ton more money. So that just makes me lean to play against. Um, and when I get to this type of situation, if I like the second choice, I'm kind of just gonna just single the second choice because um, I can't. I can't feel bad using others. I actually really do like your 5 Gobbles Delight that you'd kind of mentioned briefly. I think it's a very interesting horse. Um, you know, I guess I just like the fact that the 4 Her Laugh has beaten winners. Beat winners second time out, won by 2.5 lengths. Yes, it was a candy ass trip, but I've been watching a bit of Fairgrounds lately, and at least to me, it doesn't seem as speed favoring as it normally does, and it's been playing kind of weird. So I'm not going to read too much into those real slow fractions. Last time out, I mean, this horse could completely be, totally exposed. Um, but I don't know. I would have expected to see a bit of an improve off that maiden breaker going second time out. You see a little bit of a regression on the Briz figure. So you know, I think that we might see something closer to like a 90 Briz figure here for a horse like the 4 Her Laugh, which I think puts her right in the conversation. Um, I mean, obviously, Quiet Side's already run, 89s and 88s here, and even going 2 turns, but I don't know. Maybe I'm getting too cute here. Maybe I just hate money, Andrew. But I'm gonna go against the one Quiet Side here. I'm gonna use the 4 Her Laugh. I looked at the 2 Adira as well a little bit, and I was a little interested. But this is kind of similar to the one, right? Broke its maiden, jumped in the stakes racing, and I mean, just doesn't really get it done in those stakes races. The figures look okay, but doesn't really improve. So yeah, I'm just gonna go with the 4 here as a single. You're going with the 1, um, and yeah, I guess people have to maybe try and cash for their consensus pick 3 because it looks like no consensus pick 4 for
I
us this
mean,
week.
that worked last week. Just
Yeah,
saying.
I mean, well, your pick 4 also worked last week, so I mean, they would have made a little bit more money if they would have just tailed you.
I
So,
mean, I wasn't going to go back to that well again. I mean, but okay, I'll take it.
anything else on this race?
Nothing else for me. I mean, I think Quiet Side's got the potential to be a pretty nice horse. So hopefully we wind up seeing that kind of a performance here. And this is one that can start the road to the Kentucky Oaks with a win in the Martha Washington. As we move on to the first $1 million Kentucky Derby prep race of the 2025 season, that's the Grade 3 Southwest. And Josh, this is the race that produced Mystic Dan a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you get the return of gaming here. Ran second in the BC Juvenile to Citizen Bull, who luckily myself and Mark made a fair bit of money off of. Kind of came back on that low self futurity and ran pretty flat third, 6.5 lengths. But as my good old friend Chase Sessom says, what did he call these? Oh man, he had a name for him.
Man, you
Uh,
set yourself up and everything.
I know, and he called them Los Al Rail something. I forgot. I'm sure if I ask him, I'll get it, but he's got this thing. But basically, if you're on the rail at Los Al and you don't run well, you get bet the next time out. Because I think he called them Lars, Los Al Rail Shipper. Yeah, Lars, Los Al Rail Shippers.
There we go. We
So
got there.
horse last time out on the rail at Los Al shipping out. Always a bet back. So I'm not gonna hold that last race against gaming, right? Drew the rail at Los Al. It's not the place you want to be at Los Al daytime. So um yeah, I'm hoping that we get something closer to that BC Juvenile, and I think gaming is going to be tough to beat here. It's my lone A. I honestly was not interested in basically anybody else in here. Um, the seven patch Adams obviously is coming in with a pretty flashy figure for Brad Cox. Brad Cox is 0 for 25. I just cannot, under good conscience, put any money behind Brad Cox horse here. Yes, I get, Flavian Pratt's coming in. Lots going on here. This horse is working really well. Stretching out to 2 turns for the first time. Um, I mean, should probably get the distance, but when I looked at this race, I thought there was a fair bit of pace. I thought Patch Adams has got some pace. American Promise has got some pace. Hell, there's a horse named Speed King in here. He's got some pace. So I really do think that the one gaming is going to be able to choose his own adventure here on the trip. Juan Hernandez comes in for Bob Baffert. That's always a good sign. They're winning at 43% the last 2 months. So yeah, I just think gaming is going to be tough to beat here, and it's going to be my lone A.
We see this race very similarly. The Lars thing is a very intricate thing. I'm just going to say gaming bounced because I think he ran very well in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. He was a stalking second behind a loose on the lead horse that didn't stop. And he wound up beating that day's third place finisher by more than 3 lengths. Gaming ran really well in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. And before that, he ran really well in the 7 furlong Delmar Futurity. Now, is there a chance he's just a Delmar freak show? Maybe, but if you look at the workouts, you see a 5 furlong drill at Santa Anita in 58-3. Everything about this horse says that Bob Baffert has him tuned up. And by the way, that Baffert guy might want to take him seriously coming back to Kentucky for the first time in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Gaming's a lone A for me. He is not a single. You hit on the fact that there's a lot of pace in this particular race. Gaming's got some speed. Publisher's got a little bit of speed. You get a couple of horses like Render Judgment and Sandman who might be up a little bit close. Patch Adams is going to go. More on him later. American Promise is going to go. Bon Temps might go. Speed King is almost certainly going to go. That kind of screams meltdown. And for that reason, I need to use a bomb in the form of number 3, Monet's Magic. Monet's Magic took a little time to come around, but stretched back out to 2 turns 2 starts ago, going 1.1 miles at Churchill, and wound up rallying from 5.5 lengths back to win by a neck. That day's third place finisher came right back to win, so that turned out to be an okay race. Last time out, they shipped him to Oaklawn. He caught a muddy track, but he wound up making up a lot of ground late and beat winners. I don't think he has to move forward all that much in order to be a factor in here, especially if they go very, very fast early on. Watch those early fractions. I think there's a chance Monet's Magic comes running late. Maybe he can't quite get to gaming, but if you're playing exactas and tries and you're looking for a clunk up horse, I think this one might be one. We are both against number 7, Patch Adams. You hit on the Brad Cox factor. I'm going to hit on the Harvey Pack factor. Say it with me out there, everybody. Never bet a horse as a favorite doing something it's never done before. I do think Patch Adams gets bet here. I think he's 5-2 on the morning line. I would not be surprised if he goes favored over gaming based off of the last out effort when he looked very good. He went 7 furlongs in 120-3. Granted, Churchill was playing pretty fast that particular day, so I take that time with a slight grain of salt. But he's never gone 2 turns, and I don't know what he beat last time. That race 2 back in the form looked really good with a couple of prospects, but not a lot of horses from that race have really moved forward. I see a string of very good workouts at Payson Park. He could be well meant, but if he's the favorite, Josh, I can't bet him. I mean, I would need at least 9-2, 5-1 to consider him, and there's no chance we're going to get that kind of a price. Now, there's also every chance that Patch Adams is just a freak and winds up running off the screen and beats me, but this is the type of short price horse that I think you're supposed to play against. And if we somehow, by the grace of God, wind up getting 5-2 on gaming, and gaming runs the way most Bob Baffert Arkansas shippers wind up running, Josh, I think that's a gift.
Andrew, I mean, how much I love the Wilson shoot.
Yes,
I
I
mean, I
do.
just can't stop talking about the Wilson shoot, right? I love the Wilson shoot.
Wilson,
The,
shoot me in the face.
yep. The only thing I might like more than the Wilson shoot is the great actor Gregory Peck and his saying, "Never take a short price in a horse doing something for the first time." So I appreciate you calling that out. Yeah, there's just a couple of red flags here with Patch Adams. I'm just I bet with caution if you're going to bet on this horse. I just don't see it. This is a fade for me every day of the week.
Yeah, this is the type of horse where if it beats you, you tip your cap and you move on. All you can do is put yourself into good spots. And I think gaming is very logical. And that price horse that I mentioned, I think could come rolling late at a big number. That's the type of horse I want to bet.
Yeah, I mean, just don't end up like Boo Radley. You know what I mean? Be more like Scout.
At some point, that's going to land with someone. It's not today.
Oh man, maybe I should have paid more attention to that book. I don't even know if what I said made sense.
It probably
Um,
didn't. No.
all right, we got two maiden races to end the sequence. We'll start with a 6 furlong 3-year-old maiden sprint. $110,000. They love giving money away at Hot Springs, and yeah, you got a nice full field of 12. Your morning line favorite is the 2 El Prestigio at 5. Or actually, it's 3 Dreamin' Blue at 2-1. El Prestigio is 5-2. Then you get Zats to 1 at 5-1. Fanatical at 6-1. Double digits on everybody else. Andrew, I yeah, I ended up a little bit. I kind of zagged a little bit here because this is another angle that I like playing. And with these super trainers, Steve Asmussen, Todd Pletcher, um, Chad Brown, Brad Cox, Bob Baffert, right? I'll give their horses 2, maybe 3 tries. Once that third try kind of happens and they still don't break their maiden, I'm out. I just don't want to touch their horse. I'm just done. El Prestigio is 0 for 5 to start for Steve Asmussen. And while you look at the figure looks fine. I mean, how is this horse not won? It's like he purposely just lets the other horses pass him at the end of the race. Like, cuz he's like, "No, no, 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 please. You go first." And I just don't like betting horses like this. I mean, this is just a money burner, and you mean to tell me this horse is going to be 5-2? Like, absolutely not. The 3 Dreamin' Blue, um, I think the first time out looked really good, but at least on Brisnet, this horse has kind of regressed since coming here to Oaklawn Park. Yes, finished second by a head last time, but that figure came back, a little bit slower. So, and that was also in the mud. And honestly, I look at this horse, I look at the breeding. I mean, this horse should absolutely love the mud. Granted, is getting Lasix for the first time. Maybe this is just a Lasix play. I'm not entirely sure. 2-1, no, thank you. I'm going to go elsewhere. So probably my top pick is this one Fanatical, drawn on the rail. You got an E6. You got a horse that kind of ran evenly last time at Fairgrounds. Um, ran third or was basically third the entire way around. And I have a theory, and it's not just my theory. I think I read it in a book somewhere. It might have been Betting with an Edge.
You sure it wasn't To Kill a Mockingbird?
It was not To Kill a Mockingbird, although, Gregory Peck is a smart guy. Maybe he came up with this as well. But when you see these large gaps in races, right? Oftentimes we're like, oh, what a horse. The horse that won must have just been much the best, right? But when you see a horse, when you see 7, 8 lengths between horses in these races, sometimes it just tells you that maybe there was a bias. And when I look at Fanatical, I'm thinking maybe there was just a huge speed bias that day at Fairgrounds, and because he didn't get on the lead, he just lost that much ground because he wasn't on the front end. And when you start seeing those big gaps between horses, sometimes you think maybe that's a bias. But the figure came back okay. He ran, like, obviously, like I said, he ran third in that race. It was kind of an even race. But I love betting these horses second time out. Good figure. You should move forward on that. And if this horse does move forward, I mean, he's right in there with the best that some of these loser horses have run. And William Walden, 30% second time out. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to like here. You're getting 6-1 in the morning line, um, drawn on the rail. I don't know. I think this is an upgrade here for the one Fanatical. And then as kind of my lone B horse, the 5, that's the one. Another speed horse, a horse that's actually gotten the lead, narrowly missed 2 back at Churchill Downs, and lost to the aforementioned Patch Adams last time out in that maiden race. And is getting Lasix for the first time. That's a plus move for Phil D'Amato here. Gets Ramon Vasquez aboard, but I kind of see those Churchill Downs races as just a step above what Oaklawn normally gets, even in the winter. So, although this is technically the same level, you might consider it. I'm kind of seeing this as a bit of a class drop here for this horse, and I think that might just put this horse over the edge. I think the speed figures look good. I think this is the horse that's shown speed. Speed is usually pretty good at Oaklawn Park, so I'm taking 2 horses I think are going to be on the front end, the 1 and the 5. Andrew, you went. I think you used both those horses, but I think you went a little bit more spread there.
I did, and you hit on the reason why I'm also going to use a few horses you didn't particularly like in the form of number 2 El Prestigio and number 3 Dream and Blue. First time Lasix can really move a horse forward. Sometimes horses just need Lasix in order to enable their best performances. And in the case of El Prestigio, he probably should have won last time, but it sure looked like they were trying to teach him something. This was a runner that several starts ago went 44 and change to the quarter pole going on September 12th, going 6 furlongs, and wound up running second behind Middy's Gritty. I remember that race very fondly. I had a very nice exacta in that one. Middy's Gritty came from way, way out of it. But if you look at this one's form, you also see he ran into Ferocious when Ferocious was going very well. 2 starts ago, he was second, beaten a bit more than 2 lengths by a next out winner. It's not like those are bad losses. I have no problem giving him one more shot with Lasix. Same with Dream and Blue. His race last time out where he added blinkers, he came up a head short of winning and I think did move him forward. Lasix could potentially move him forward again. However, in addition to the 2 horses that you mentioned, my top pick is actually a bit of a price, and it's the 10, Semper Primus. This makes me very curious. I really like seeing this in a first time starter. You see a pedigree that isn't bad, but certainly isn't blue blooded. You see Improbable on the top, and you see an Empire Maker on the bottom. The stud fee for Improbable was $15,000. Last year at the OBS sale, Semper Primus sold for $475,000. Someone really liked what they saw at that 2-year-old in training sale. I then look at a couple of the workouts recently, and the workouts have been pretty solid. The times aren't going to jump off the page at you, but remember this is Oaklawn, which doesn't always play very fast in the mornings. You see 12th fastest of 91, second fastest of 9, fifth fastest of 27, a bullet fastest of 9. I think there's a chance Semper Primus could have a fair amount of talent. Watch the tote board on that one. This is certainly a runner that I want to use in this spot. Whereas you mentioned, Josh, several of the top contenders just don't seem to want to win. I think Lasix could potentially move a couple of them forward. But on the off chance that we get a horse that wants to win against some horses that just don't, and you're telling me Semper Primus might be 12-1, sign me up. Also, before we move on, we need to talk about the obvious hunch play in this particular race. I mean, just jumps off the page at you. Josh, can you see any scenario where Can Do Andrew gets the job done? Horse number 6.
Absolutely not.
Me neither, but we needed to talk about him.
So, Andrew, using your angle on the 10, Semper Primus, How much money did you lose on the Green Monkey?
None, because that was before my time, really. But it's one of those instances where if a blue blooded horse fetches a whole bunch of money, that doesn't really pique my interest. But when I see a horse that's not necessarily bred to be in the purple selling for that kind of money, generally speaking, as a rule, I learned this from someone who is incredibly gifted at handicapping pedigrees and first time starters, Ren Carruthers, who does a great job at Tampa Bay Downs with her pre race videos. If you see a horse sell for 10 times its stud fee, that's notable. Semper Primus sold for more than 30 times his stud fee. That's something, and I'm going to be very interested in seeing how that horse looks in the paddock and on the track before the 11th race on Saturday.
All right. Well, we're gonna end this with another 6 furlong race. This time an
Arky
Archie bred,
Breads.
state bred, 110,000, absolute chaos. I want to buy an Archie bred. That's where I want to. That's where I'm gonna. As a working man, that's probably where I can afford to get a horse. Although, hey, they got not this times down there, so maybe I can't afford an Archie bred. That's ridiculous. But yeah, we're gonna be going 6 furlongs here on the main track. Andrew, where did you land?
I'm three deep in here. My top selection is the 10 Miracle Mac. Miracle Mac debuted and ran fairly well, broke very slowly, was 12th of 12 coming out of the starting gate first time out. Usually, with first time starters, that's an automatic, nope, not going to do anything, complete and total write off. Miracle Mac winds up running third in that race, and it's not like they sizzled early on. You see a 6 furlong race with a half-mile split of 46-1. They were moving, but it's not like they were flying. I think Miracle Mac learned a lot that particular day. After that race, he goes to the sidelines. He comes back with Mike Maker, who we know can do very good work with horses off of very long layoffs. I love seeing Juan Hernandez sticking around for the 12th and final. I think that's a clue. If Miracle Mac is ready to run, I think he's got a pretty big chance. I will also be using the $5 Eddie, who probably should have won last time out, but I can forgive it because it was his first start since July, and he did at least show a lot of interest and was game to the wire. If he moves forward, he's got a pretty big chance. The other one I'm interested in is a first time starter, and that's the 8-409. 409 comes in off of a couple of pretty nice workouts. His last work in particular, I thought was very impressive. 4 furlongs and 48 flat from the gate. Third fastest of 170 at that distance. It's entirely possible 409 is a morning glory. He's 20-1 on the morning line. You've got a trainer that doesn't usually do fantastic work with first time starters. But again, on the off chance he catches a field of horses that just don't necessarily want to win, I would be kicking myself if I did not have that horse on the ticket in some way, shape, or form. So I'm 10 with 5 and 8 in here. Miracle Mac is probably the lone A, but I felt the need to at least spread a little bit on this ticket because Miracle Mac is making his first start since early May. So there's obviously a chance he needs the race here.
Yeah, I mean, you basically said everything I wanted to say about the 5 and the 10. I think the 5 should have won last time out. Um, you know, I know I just like trashed horses that are 0 for 5 maidens, but that's for super trainers. For trainers like Greg Compton and smaller trainers, like they hold on to these horses and they're able to be a little bit more patient, especially if this is a horse that's cashing these big checks, right? This is a horse that's won $54,000 already and hasn't won a race yet. So yeah, I like $2 Eddie here. I like the jock switch to Christian Torres. I think is a good one. Obviously, speed's always good. So you covered everything on $2 Eddie. I think if he has an effort like last time out, he probably wins here. 10 Miracle Mac. Love to see the barn change to Mike Maker. Is a horse that ran pretty damn well after that bad break, and you get Juan Hernandez aboard. Like, I mean, you said it all. Really, the only other horse I'm interested in is an AE. And that's a 13, Tiz Marcus. Um, this is a Chris Hartman horse that has been working very, very well here at Oaklawn. And honestly, normally I don't like to, really handicap these AEs, but since this is only one outside and there's a good shot he draws in, gets the bug and Tyler Bacon aboard, who's been riding pretty well.
He's been
Um,
sizzling, am I right?
yeah, yeah, he's been sizzling. He's been not one when you want to cut the fat out of your tickets that you want to leave off. I'm gonna boo myself because that was
Thank
pretty.
you.
That
I
was
appreciate
fantastic.
that.
Um, but I think Tiz Marcus makes a bunch of sense here. Obviously working well. Chris Hartman off to a great start on this meet, and him and Tyler Bacon are connecting at 22%. So honestly, I could probably go a little bit more spread here, but I have a very efficient ticket here that I'm probably going to play for a couple of bucks, and we're going to take a little bit of a swing. So, anything else on this race you want to talk about?
The only horse that I would like to mention, at least before we wind up going into our tickets, if there are scratches anywhere in the sequence, I would throw in horse number 3, Boat. It's not like Boat's done a lot wrong. First time out, he was second over at Delta Downs, going 5 furlongs around the bull ring. He was pretty far back early on. That is not an easy track to make up ground at. And last time out, he did everything but win, was second beaten a nose at this level. My only hesitation with him is that, judging by the pedigree, I think he might want to go longer than this 6 furlong distance. You see Gift Box on top. To me, that means distance. And also you see Twirling Candy up on the top. That indicates that maybe this horse moved up with a muddy track. So would be a C for me. But if any of the 5, 8, or 10 scratches, I'll be throwing in the 3, at least on a couple of tickets.
Man, remember when Gift Box was supposed to be the next big West Coast handicap horse? And I don't
Oh
think he won
boy.
another race after that.
It was he wound up did he wind up going to Chad after that, or what, did he start with Chad and then go west?
Oh man, I don't remember. I
That's
used
going
to
to
remember.
bother me a little bit.
I know. I remember he. What did he win? He won. Did he win the big cap?
It
Yeah,
sounds
he won the
right.
big cap. He won the big cap, and then he ended up winning whatever the Lafitte Pincay stakes
The
was, and then
San
he retired.
Antonio, and it's pink eye.
Pincaya. But yeah, he ran second to Vino Rosso in the Gold Cup. Was a no-show in the Stephen Foster. Ended up fourth.
Yeah.
Lost to Seeking the Soul, Quip, and Tom's the Tat.
Yeah, he
Um,
started with Chad, and then he went over to John Sadler when he shipped out west.
yeah, yeah. Interesting horse. I believe Joel Rosario rode him in
I'm
that
sure
big
he
cap
did.
win. Pretty sure that's what it was. Yep, Joel Rosario.
There we go.
Awesome. So Andrew, you got a $15 ticket here.
Yeah, and I'm going to start it off by singling Quiet Side in the Martha Washington. Almost singled Gaming in the Southwest, but needed to use that late running bomb that I mentioned. Then we're spreading in race number 11, and we're going 3 deep in race number 12. This is a caveman ticket for $15. If you want to play some stronger opinions, single Quiet Side, single Gaming, maybe a single horse number 10 in race number 12, who's going to be 9-2 on the morning line and may very well go off at that price as sort of a separator single. But if you're playing this ticket as it is right now, it's a $15 play. And hey, last week I gave you a $12 ticket that wound up paying a little over $200. Hopefully we can wind up keeping the good vibes rolling here for not a lot of money. I think this is still a fun pick 4 sequence, even if it's not the pick 4 sequence that I think should have been carded.
Yeah, and I'm going to start off with a single as well, which is the For Her Laugh. And then, yeah, I'm 4 with 1, with 1 5, with 5 10 13. So that's a $3 ticket. Honestly, like if you are maybe a little less risk averse, obviously, like we have our consensus ticket up here, right? That's X1 1 5 5 10. Honestly, maybe you just use both of our horses, the 1 and the 4 in that first leg. And I mean, I don't know. I feel like that's probably a ticket that's going to hit. I just don't know how much it's going to pay.
Right.
Because like I said, this is a $3 base ticket. I mean, I'm probably going to have it for $5 at the very minimum, right? So 10x. Um, and if this pays, 25 bucks, 30 bucks or something like that, I'm at least going to have it 10 times. So, we'll make a couple hundred on it. But yeah, I thought we were kind of on the same page. I think most races, I think we just really is really that first one that we just saw a little bit different. So,
Yeah, and even so, in that first race, we both agreed it was prudent to single our strongest opinion. It's just
yep.
our strongest opinion wound up being on different horses, and that's the best part of this game. It's my money against your money, against Mark's money, against Caleb's dog's money, and you'll wind up with a situation where, oh, whatever happens, win, lose, or draw, there's another race in 30 minutes, and that is why, at its best, regardless of anything that happens in boardrooms and conference rooms, this is the best gambling game on the planet.
Yep. And I'm always sure to tell Mark thank you when I win his money. So I always just pretend like his money is the money that comes into my AW account. So that always
That's a good
feels
way
good.
to look at it.
What else you got going on this week, Andrew?
So, pretty busy. I actually had a pretty good day over at Happy Valley in Hong Kong on Wednesday morning. Had a couple of winners, including a $46 horse that won race number 6, Turin Warrior. Fitting me, my strongest opinions, ran second because that's what they've been doing for most of the last 6 weeks. But hey, I'm giving out live horses, and hopefully you're boxing the exact as I give out. But lots going on this weekend over in Hong Kong as well. You can catch more of that on You've Got to Be Shot Tinning Me elsewhere on the On the Wrong Lead network. I may very well write something up on Pegasus Day. We'll see. If I do, that'll be up for sale on Winners and Whiners and Stat Salt in the Expert Handicapper section. I'll have links for that on my social media as well. Mainly, though, my biggest focus is going to be helping my fiance with a project. Her kids did a music video that is looking to air at an assembly at some point next week, and they needed the guy with the video production background to come in and put it together. And I love doing that stuff for my fiance and her students. It's my way of giving back to a community that supports her and gives her a lot of the things she needs in order to be as great as I know she is. So I'm looking forward to doing that on Saturday while I've got races on the TV.
Nice. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Drankin' Champagne. Catch us in ontherwronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Jerry Drank. Like, subscribe, hit all the buttons, download, do everything. Andrew's at Andrew Champagne, winnersandwhiners.com. There is another website he said I forgot already.
Stat Salt.
Stat Salt. There we go. Obviously, if you haven't, our live stream recording should be up where we covered Pegasus Day. And then You've Got to Be Shot Hitting Me will be out Friday night. Let's make some money, guys. Have a good weekend.
Good luck, all.